Hey, everyone. My name is Emily Carter. And I want to tell you something that happened to me about 6 months ago. Maybe it'll help someone see the signs I ignored for too long. Or maybe you'll just read this and think, good for her. Either way, here it is. I was married to Jason for almost 4 years. We met in college. He was funny, charming, everyone liked him. He made me feel safe. That was the biggest joke, I guess, safe with a liar. But back then I thought we were solid. We had ups and downs, sure. We argued about bills, about his job, about me wanting kids sooner than him. But I told myself it was normal. Everyone fights. Everyone compromises. And I really believed he loved me. Looking back, I see all the small signs. The late nights at work that didn't add up. The new cologne that just came in a gift bag from work. The phone face down on the table, always. But I trusted him. God, I hate that word now, trust. It makes you blind when you want to believe too badly. So, the way I found out, it wasn't dramatic at first. It was a regular Wednesday. He left for work early. I worked from home that day. Around lunch, I remembered he'd left his laptop open on the kitchen counter. He's the type to forget stuff like that. I didn't have any reason to snoop, or so I thought. I just wanted to close it because our cat, Milo, loves to walk on keyboards. I walked over, ready to shut it. But there it was. A chat window, right in the middle of the screen. I swear, for a second my brain didn't get it. It was like looking at another language. The name at the top said, Liana. Who the hell is Liana? And why the heart? I should have closed it. I should have trusted him. But my hand clicked instead. I scrolled up. And what I saw, God, I still feel sick remembering it. It wasn't just flirty jokes. It was photos. Her in his shirt. Him saying things like, last night was like paradise. I wish I could wake up next to you, every day. I read line after line. My fingers were shaking so bad, I could barely keep scrolling. It felt like the kitchen floor was moving under me. I don't know how long I sat there. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour. I just remember Milo jumping on the table and rubbing against my arm. I was frozen. I wanted to throw up. I wanted to smash his laptop into the wall. But I didn't do anything. Not yet. When he came home that night, he was normal. So normal it made me want to scream. He asked, "Hey babe, what's for dinner?" I looked at his face. The same face I'd kissed every morning. The same voice that told me, I love you 1,000 times. And I thought, you're lying right now. You're lying with that mouth you kiss me with. Do you even care? I didn't say anything that night. I cooked dinner. We ate spaghetti and garlic bread. He talked about his boss being a jerk. I nodded, smiled. I even laughed at one of his dumb jokes. I think he kissed me goodnight. I think I kissed him back. I don't really remember. I just know I lay awake for hours staring at the ceiling, wondering how long it had been going on. Who else knew? Did his friends know? Did they cover for him? The next day, I didn't confront him either. I went through his phone when he was in the shower, found more of the same. Messages. Photos. Some so explicit I wanted to scream. I never thought I'd be the woman reading my husband's dirty secrets with another girl, but there I was. I took screenshots. I sent them to my own email. Evidence. Not that I needed more than I'd already seen. The days after that are kind of a blur. I cried a lot. In the shower. In the car. In the middle of Target when I saw a Valentine's display and remembered he'd given me cheap flowers and then probably gone to see her. I felt humiliated. I felt like an idiot. I asked myself over and over, what's wrong with me? Why wasn't I enough? But somewhere in all that pain, something hardened. It wasn't loud or dramatic. Just a quiet click inside my chest. Like a switch. One night, I was sitting in bed, staring at the ceiling again. And I thought, I'm not going to let him decide how this ends. He lied. He humiliated me. He made me doubt myself. But he doesn't get to keep looking like the good guy. So no, I didn't throw his clothes out the window. I didn't break his Xbox. I didn't scream at him in front of the neighbors. I did something better, at least for me. I started planning. I made breakfast every day. Kissed him goodbye, every morning. Let him think he'd gotten away with it. Let him keep playing perfect husband while I lined up my pieces. I Googled lawyers. I made notes. I kept smiling. I know some people think revenge is petty, that it makes you just as bad as them. Maybe. But when someone stabs you in the back, sometimes the only thing that stops the bleeding is knowing you get the last word. Or the last laugh. So yeah, that's how I found out. By accident. And if he'd just closed his laptop that morning, maybe I'd still be the fool making him dinner while he texted Liana. But he didn't. And now he was going to learn what happens when you underestimate the quiet wife who never yells. Next part? Let's just say the idea didn't come overnight. But once it did, there was no going back. After I found out about Liana, I thought I'd confront him right away. I imagined throwing the laptop at his face, screaming at him in front of his friends, calling his mom, and telling her what her precious son really was. But every time I pictured it, it felt empty, like he'd just twist it around, say I was crazy, say it was a mistake, maybe even cry a little so I'd forgive him. He was good at that, turning things around. I didn't want to give him the chance. So I waited. And while I waited, I watched him. I watched how he'd text her in the bathroom and come out pretending nothing happened. How he'd tell me work was crazy today, while she probably still smelled like his cologne. I played my part, so well he never suspected a thing. I cooked his favorite meals. I let him think I was too busy with work to notice anything. I kept thinking about what would actually hurt him. Not just yelling, not just leaving. That would be too easy for him to spin. He'd tell everyone. She was unstable. She overreacted. It wasn't serious. I needed something he couldn't twist. Something public. Something he'd remember every time he saw chocolate cake, because that was his favorite. One night, about 3 weeks after I found out, we were sitting on the couch. He was watching some stupid show, scrolling his phone at the same time. Probably texting her while I was right next to him. He didn't even look at me when he said it. Hey babe, our anniversary's coming up. Maybe you can bake your chocolate cake? The one you made that time for my birthday? Everybody loved it. I looked at him, really looked. He had no idea. He smiled at me like I was still his clueless little wife. And right then, the idea landed in my head like a spark. My heart didn't even race. It just felt cold and steady. I said, yeah, of course. I'll make it special this time. He kissed my forehead. He smelled like her perfume. I didn't even flinch. The next day, I called my old friend Maddie. Maddie runs this tiny exotic pet shop. She mostly sells reptiles and weird insects. We hadn't talked much lately, but she picked up right away. I told her I needed live worms. Not the regular garden ones, something smaller, whiter, wriggly. The kind that wouldn't stink but would look disgusting enough when they crawled out of a cake. Maddie was quiet for a second. Then she said, Emily, are you okay? I laughed. Really laughed for the first time in weeks. I told her, I'm fine. I just need them for a little project. She asked no more questions. 2 days later, she messaged me that she had exactly what I needed. A small container of tiny white feeder worms. They looked like something out of a nightmare. I kept them hidden in the back of the fridge, in an unmarked Tupperware. Every time I opened the door, I'd see them squirm under the lid. I felt sick and thrilled all at once. Sometimes I'd stand there and just watch them. I'd imagine Jason's face when he saw them crawling on his fork. He kept making plans for the anniversary like nothing was wrong. He told his coworkers, he invited his buddies, even asked if he should get a nice bottle of wine. He joked that I should wear that red dress he liked, the one he bought me for Valentine's, probably right after texting Liana. I smiled and said yes to everything. I planned the whole dinner. I cooked his favorite steak, mashed potatoes, even made his stupid spinach dip that he bragged about to his friends. I cleaned the house top to bottom. He was so happy he kept hugging me, telling me how lucky he was. I almost laughed in his face. On the morning of our anniversary, I woke up early and started baking. I made 2 perfect chocolate cake layers. I whipped the ganache frosting by hand, just like he liked. Then I cut one of the layers carefully and scooped out a small tunnel. I poured in the worms, not all over, just in one half. I sealed the cake back up with extra filling, smoothed it, covered it with frosting, sprinkles, chocolate curls. It looked beautiful, magazine-level perfect. When I closed the fridge door, I saw my reflection in the stainless steel. I looked calm. My hands didn't shake. There was no guilt. There was no sadness left. Just focus. That night, the guests arrived right on time. His best friend Matt came with his girlfriend. His coworker Kyle brought a bottle of whiskey. Jason played the perfect host. He poured drinks, laughed too loud, kissed me in front of everyone like we were the perfect couple. I smiled back. I wonder if any of them saw that my smile didn't reach my eyes. We ate dinner. Everyone complimented my cooking. Jason told some stupid story about our honeymoon in Miami. I nodded along. I sipped my wine. I waited. And when he asked, "Baby, want to bring out that cake?" I said, "Of course." I went to the kitchen and stood for a moment with my hands on the counter. I could hear them laughing in the living room. I took a deep breath. picked up the cake, and walked out. Jason made this big speech. "My wife is the best baker ever. You guys are gonna die when you taste this." He didn't know how right he was. He cut himself the biggest piece. He always did that, king of his own little world. He put the first bite in his mouth, chewing, grinning. And then, just like I pictured, he stopped. His fork hovered. He looked confused, then disgusted. He poked around the cake with his fork. And when one of those little white worms wriggled out onto his plate, everything went dead silent. I stood behind him, waiting for it to hit him. And when it did, it was beautiful. For a second, no one really understood what was happening. It was almost funny, the way his smile just froze on his face while he stared at his plate. Then Matt leaned in closer and saw it too. He made this choking sound, like he was about to gag. Jason's fork slipped out of his hand and clattered on the plate. I could see the worm, half covered in chocolate frosting, trying to crawl away. Tiny, harmless, but enough to turn everyone's stomach. Someone, I think it was Kyle's girlfriend, actually screamed. She jumped up so fast her chair fell over. Wine glasses tipped. Someone's phone hit the floor. Jason just sat there, his mouth half open, like his brain couldn't catch up. He looked at me. His eyes were wild, darting between me and the plate, then back to me. I stepped closer, calm as ever. I put a hand over my mouth like I was shocked too. "Oh my God, Jason, is that a worm?" He didn't say anything. He poked at the cake again, like maybe it wasn't real. But another one crawled out. I'd put in just enough to be sure. His face turned this grayish color I'd never seen before. "What the hell is that, Emily?" he hissed under his breath. I tilted my head, acting all innocent. "I don't know, honey. Maybe they got in there while you were so busy with Liana?" I said her name clear as day, loud enough for Matt, Kyle, and everyone else to hear. The room went dead quiet again. I swear you could hear the clock ticking in the hallway. Matt looked at Jason like he was seeing him for the first time. Kyle's girlfriend, I think her name was Becca, whispered. "Who's Liana?" Jason pushed back from the table so fast his chair scraped the floor. He tried to grab my arm, but I stepped away. "Emily, let's talk in the kitchen."
"Now."
His voice was low, all his fake charm gone. I smiled.
"Why?"
"So you can lie some more? You want to practice what you'll say to her later?" He glanced at the others. I saw it all over his face. Panic, anger, the horror of knowing he'd lost control. He always needed to be in charge of the story. "Not tonight." "Look, it's not what you think," he started. "Really?" I cut him off. "Because I read it all, Jason. The messages. The pictures. Paradise, right? I wish I could wake up next to you, every day. Did you tell her that in my bed? Or hers?" Someone in the back laughed. A short, shocked laugh that made Jason flinch. Matt stood up too.
"Dude.
You cheated on Emily? Seriously?" Jason ignored him. He leaned closer to me, whispering like he could still fix it if he kept it private. "Please, don't do this here. We can fix it. Please don't do this." I looked him dead in the eye. "You did this. Not me." He was shaking now, breathing fast. I could almost see him trying to come up with some story that would make it all go away. But it was too late. The worms were right there, wriggling on his fancy dessert. His big secret crawling around for everyone to see. Someone grabbed their purse and slipped out the door. Kyle muttered, "I gotta go, man," and followed. One by one, people started leaving.
"No volváis, no excuses."
They didn't want any part of this mess. Jason tried again, his voice cracking. "Emily, please. This is insane. You're insane. Why would you ruin this night?" I almost laughed. "Ruin it? I made it memorable. You'll remember this cake for the rest of your life. You wanted chocolate? You got extra protein too." Matt burst out laughing. He couldn't hold it anymore. That was the final nail. Jason looked around at the empty chairs, the ruined cake, the crawling worms. He looked so small, like all the power just drained out of him. I picked up my wine glass, took a sip, and set it down. I leaned in close, so only he could hear me. "Next time you want to cheat, maybe don't leave your laptop open. And pick someone worth losing everything for." "Liana? Really? That's who you threw your marriage away for?" He tried to speak. I didn't let him. "Save it for your mom when you have to explain why your wife kicked you out. Or maybe tell Liana the story, if she's still around when she sees this mess." I turned to Matt. "You staying for cake?" He held up his hands, still half laughing. "I'm good, Emily. I think I'm gonna head out too. But, respect.
Seriously.
This is damn." One by one, The rest of them left. Jason stood there frozen. He looked at the ruined party, the half-eaten cake, the worms still crawling on his plate. He looked at me like he didn't know me at all. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he thought I'd cry and beg him to stay. Or pretend it never happened. Not this time. He tried one last time. Can we talk? Just us? Please, Emily, don't throw this away over one mistake. I cut him off with a laugh. One mistake? Jason, you made hundreds of mistakes. All those nights. All those lies. One cake. That's my only mistake. And trust me, I don't regret it. I picked up the ruined plate and dumped it in the trash. The worms wriggled at the bottom. I didn't flinch. I turned back to him and said the last thing I ever needed to say to his face. You can leave now. Or I can call my lawyer tonight. Either way, you're done here. I walked past him, up the stairs to our bedroom, my bedroom now. I didn't slam the door. I didn't cry. I just lay on the bed and listened to him moving around downstairs. The sound of him trying to pick up the pieces of his perfect life. The life he destroyed all by himself. I didn't feel sorry. I felt free. I stayed in the bedroom for a long time that night. I could hear him downstairs for maybe an hour. At first, there was silence. Maybe he thought I'd come back down, and we'd talk it out. He always thought he could talk his way out of anything. Then I heard him moving around the kitchen, opening drawers, probably trying to clean up the mess. Like wiping frosting and worms off the counter could erase what he'd done. He knocked on the bedroom door twice. Soft at first, then louder. He called my name. Emily, please. Just talk to me. I lay on top of the covers, staring at the ceiling, listening to him beg like I knew he would. When I didn't answer, he just stood there for a while. I could hear him breathing through the door. Then he started saying all the usual garbage. It didn't mean anything. She meant nothing. It was a mistake. We can fix this. Don't ruin us over one stupid thing. Over and over. If I hadn't read the messages myself, maybe I'd have believed him. I used to believe every word he said. I was good at believing him. He was good at making me. I didn't open the door. I didn't say a single word. Eventually he stopped. I heard him walk away, then the sound of the fridge opening. Maybe he was trying to find something else to eat. The irony made me smile. Nothing left but worm cake, Jason. I must have dozed off because when I woke up it was almost 2 a.m. I went downstairs. He was passed out on the couch, fully dressed, shoes still on. There were half-finished glasses of wine everywhere, empty plates, napkins. The cake was still in the trash where I'd thrown it. I stood there for a minute just watching him sleep, mouth open, one hand still clutching his phone like maybe she'd text him back and rescue him from all this. I didn't feel hate, not really. Just nothing. A big, clean emptiness where he used to live in my chest. I went back upstairs, locked the door, and slept better than I had in weeks. The next morning, he was gone when I woke up. I guess he'd gone to work or maybe to Liana. I didn't care enough to check. He texted me. Pages and pages of desperate apologies, half-truths, promises. I read the first few lines and deleted them. I packed his things into boxes, not neatly, just fast. I put them by the front door. I didn't want any of it in my house anymore. Not his stupid trophies from college, not his fancy watch I'd bought him for Christmas, not his gym bag that probably still smelled like her perfume. When he came back that night and saw the boxes, he just stood there with this blank look on his face. Like he couldn't believe I was really doing it. Like he thought the show would go on, that I'd break and forgive him so he could crawl back into my bed like nothing happened. He started with that voice again, soft, gentle, the voice he used when he wanted to sell me a lie. Emily, don't do this. Please. We have so much history. For years. You really want to throw that away? I almost laughed. You threw it away. I'm just taking out the trash. He opened his mouth to argue. I walked right past him, called my friend Kate, and told her she could come get me. I'd stay with her for a few nights until I talked to a lawyer. I wasn't about to stay in this house with him one more night. Not after what he did. Not after how good it felt to watch him gag on his own lies. I heard him on the porch while I waited for Kate. He was on the phone, I guess, with Liana. His voice was low and angry. I didn't care enough to listen. Maybe he was trying to spin it for her too. Good luck with that. Let her have him. She could bake him cakes and pretend she didn't know. Until he did it to her too. Kate pulled up at the curb, didn't even turn off the car. She just leaned over and popped the passenger door open for me. She didn't ask a single question, just squeezed my hand when I got in. I didn't even cry. I thought I might. But there were no tears left. I'd wasted enough of those on him already. I spent the next few nights at Kate's place. Slept in her guest room, helped her make coffee in the mornings, listened to her toddler chatter about cartoons. It felt normal. Safe. Every now and then I'd check my phone, more messages from Jason. Voicemails I didn't listen to. A couple from his mom too. I didn't answer those either. He could tell her himself. When I finally called a lawyer, it felt like breathing fresh air after being stuck in a smoky room. She asked if I wanted to fight for the house or anything else. I told her no. I didn't want it. Let him have it. The kitchen where I baked his cake, the bed where he lied to my face, the couch where he probably texted her while I made him dinner. He could keep the house. I was taking my freedom. He moved out 2 weeks later. Or maybe she took him in, I don't know, I didn't care to find out. My lawyer handled everything. When I finally went back to the house to get the last of my things, it felt empty in a good way. The shadows were gone. The air felt lighter. I stood in the kitchen one last time, right by the fridge where I'd kept those worms. I almost laughed at myself.
Who does that?
Who bakes live worms into a cake? But I didn't regret it for a second. He made me feel small for so long. That night, I made him feel just a tiny piece of what he'd done to me. I didn't poison him. I didn't scream. I didn't smash his car windows. I gave him exactly what he deserved. A moment he couldn't spin away, couldn't lie about, couldn't hide. Everyone saw it. Everyone knew. When people ask what happened, I tell them the truth. I found out by accident. But how I handled it, that was all on purpose. I signed the final papers on a Thursday morning. It was raining, that soft gray kind of rain that makes you want to stay in bed all day. I didn't feel sad, not even for a second. I signed my name, watched the lawyer double-check everything, and felt lighter than I'd felt in years. When I stepped outside, I stood in the rain for a minute, letting it soak my hair, my coat, my shoes. I didn't care. It felt like the last bit of him washing off me. For years gone, but not wasted. Because I'd learned something. Sometimes you can love someone so much you forget who you are. And sometimes you need a worm-filled cake to remember. After the divorce was official, I moved in with Kate for a month while I looked for a new place. She kept telling everyone she'd never seen me so calm. I wasn't calm, though. I was focused. I packed up the last of my old life, sold the furniture he used to brag about buying, closed our joint account. I left him exactly what he deserved, a half-empty house and an empty bed. One night, maybe a week after it was all final, Jason tried to call me again. Maybe he was drunk, or maybe he just missed having someone who always forgave him. I let it ring until it stopped. I didn't block his number. I wanted to see the missed calls. Like trophies. Proof that I'd done the right thing. He'd made me feel invisible for so long. Now he was the one I didn't even have to see. I heard from Matt once. He texted me just a simple respect. Seriously. If you ever want to grab a drink and talk, I'm around. I never replied. Matt was fine, but I didn't want any reminders. I didn't want people who'd still look at me and see her. The girl who served worm cake at her own anniversary party. I wanted people who'd only know me. The me who didn't need to catch someone to feel strong. So, I found a tiny apartment downtown. Nothing fancy. Old floors, weird closet doors that stick, a kitchen that's barely big enough for one person to stand in. But it's mine. Every lamp, every pillow, every mug is mine. No one else's taste, no one else's socks in the laundry, no one's phone buzzing in the middle of the night with someone else's "I miss you, baby." Just me. I unpacked my mixer first, plugged it in on my tiny counter, just to see if it still worked. The next morning I baked brownies. Real brownies, soft and sweet, warm right out of the oven.
No worms. No secrets.
I brought some to Kate and her kid. They laughed when I handed over the tin. No surprises inside, right? And I laughed too. The kind of laugh that comes from deep in your ribs, the kind I thought I'd lost. Sometimes I wonder if he tells the story now. If he spins it for his buddies, crazy Emily, you wouldn't believe what she did. I hope he does. I hope every time he tries to play the victim, someone asks, but why did she do it? And then he has to admit the real part. That I didn't snap for no reason. I just made sure he couldn't hide anymore. A few weeks ago, Kate made me go out with her girlfriends. I didn't want to. I was happy in my quiet little kitchen with my new plants and my old recipe books. But she pushed me out the door and said, "You can't just bake forever, Em. You gotta live too." So I went. I sat at a noisy bar with sticky floors, drinking cheap beer from a plastic cup. A guy sat next to me. I don't even remember his name. He asked if I was single. I laughed and said, freshly. He asked if I wanted to get dinner sometime. And you know what? I said maybe. Not yes. Not no. Just maybe. Because now I know better than to give anyone my yes right away. I earned that lesson. Now, when people ask why I left Jason, I tell them the short version. I found out he was cheating. I handled it. They always ask how I handled it. I just smile and say, I got creative in the kitchen. If they push for details, I say, trust me, it was memorable. That's enough. I don't owe anyone the whole story. The people who need to know already do. Sometimes I still get mad. Not at him, but at myself. For ignoring the signs, for letting him talk me into forgiving little things until they turned into big ones. For baking birthday cakes and anniversary cakes and pretending we were happy when we weren't. But then I remember the look on his face that night. The silence in that room when the worms started crawling out. That was mine.
He didn't get to rewrite that.
I still bake. I bake when I'm happy, when I'm bored, when I'm sad. I bake for Kate's kid, for my new neighbors. I bake for me. And every time I crack an egg or sift flour, I think about how far I've come from that kitchen where I stood with my hands shaking, reading words that broke my heart. Revenge doesn't fix everything. It didn't make him less of a liar. It didn't erase what he did. But it gave me back something he took for so long, my power. My voice. My choice. It reminded me that sometimes you don't have to scream to be heard. Sometimes all you need is a cake, a plan, and the guts to see it through. So yeah, I found out by accident. But what I did next, that was the best accident of my life. And when people ask if I do it again, I don't even blink. Absolutely.